There's the bad kind, like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind, like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama, like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her.
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge.
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man to man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! It's now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend.
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is you over 30 years ago.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
And this is your mom when you drive her back from therapy.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Roles change without us noticing, and in your new role, we help you help. AARP gives you the information to help care for your mom so that you can have patience with her, just like she did with you. Visit aarp.org/caregiving or call 1-877-333-5885 to get practical health and wellness tips to provide even better care for your loved one.
Are we there yet?
Remember, visit aarp.org/caregiving. AARP. We help you help. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
When I was little, I didn't talk for a long time. I liked things to always be the same. Anything new or different would scare and upset me. I was very sensitive to lights and sounds. It was almost like I had bigger eyes and ears than everyone else. So I built secret hiding places where nothing could get in. I didn't like looking people in the eye. It made me feel uncomfortable. I'd throw big tantrums over little things like when my socks didn't match. Sometimes I'd do the same things over and over. Until one day, I found out I had autism. My family got me help. Slowly, I learned how to live with it better.
You can see signs of autism in children as young as 18 months. Early intervention can make a lifetime of difference. Learn the signs at autismspeaks.org/signs. Brought to you by Autism Speaks and the Ad Council.
It's Thursday night, and you're grabbing drinks with some friends. Started off with a pitcher for the table, which quickly becomes 2. There's pool. And there's the photo booth.
All right, everybody squeeze in. Say cheese!
Followed naturally by an order of wings. And another.
Can we get some extra ranch sauce?
Then there's the ceremonial nightcap.
So what are we doing this weekend?
And lastly, it's back to the car, which, if you're buzzed, could be the most expensive night of your life. Getting pulled over for buzzed driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzzed driving, because buzzed driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
You're listening to the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. You're tuned into DC's DFS Challenge with Dan Mader and Chris Pinto. Live on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
Hello, DC Nation. Welcome back to the show. It is another Saturday night, and now we get to talk about playoffs, the NBA playoffs, all the DFS, all the bets you can handle. We're going to talk about it all. We'll probably talk about a little bit of how we've gotten to this point so far, too, because we're in quite a few games that have been very good the first week of the NBA playoffs. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well, but we are primarily here to help you guys win money. One of the ways you can do that is by playing one of our sponsors of today, which is Simbull. It's Simbull. Wall Street meets sports gambling in this innovative app. Simbull brings the fun of being able to play for the long term by purchasing, selling, and trading stocks of your teams. When your teams win, you win a payout. When they lose, you don't lose money. The value of your team's share is all that matters, and it's easy to use. Just download the Simbull app on your Play Store and use the promo code MDSFantasy for a $10 deposit of at least $10 or more. Join the fun of investing in your team for the long haul, where the sportsbook edge is put back into your pockets as the player. For the latest and most fun in sports gambling, download Simbull, and again, use the promo code MDSFantasy for your $10 deposit today. Now, as always, I'm your host, Dan Mader, joined here with Chris Dowhauer. Chris, how was it? We actually had we have a 1 o'clock, because of the playoffs, so everything's on a different schedule. Our DC's DFS challenge is actually going to be 4 games at the 1 o'clock hour tomorrow. So we're going to find out a lot sooner than we normally would who's going to win this week of May. And it's our second to last week of May. We've only had one winner so far in the month of May. JJ Malecki 89 won back-to-back weeks, making a strong case for that giveaway from Chaz Filardi, who will be on in the second half of the show for him to win that May. But it's still done randomly. So we still have 2 more winner possibilities. You can still have a chance to win if you click on the comments below. It is available to you wherever you guys are watching this on your social media accounts at WWSRN. And it's free. All you got to do is follow along. We're here to help you win some tournament money as well. But Chris, looking through it, not a lot of games, but we've been through that in the past.
Yeah, I think we're pretty prepped for these kind of games. I mean, we've had days where we've only had 2 or 3 games to pick from, so I'm actually kind of excited for more variety we get to have for tomorrow.
Well, I actually felt like, because of the playoff basketball, in some ways, playoff basketball is a little bit more predictable as far as what to expect out of the key players. You know what to expect out of LeBron. You know what to expect out of Trae Young. You know what to expect. You know what to expect out of these guys. Is the role players that typically play better when they're at home. So you try to take advantage of those situations as well. But for the most part, you can have a better idea what teams are going to do. And as we've seen so far these playoffs, the defense is a million times better than what we saw in the regular season.
Yeah, suddenly it seems to have changed, didn't it? People actually playing defense for a change.
Like, oh, yes, we do need to stop you from being able to score. It was something we need. So, again, join the DC's DFS Challenge Tournament for free, like it always is every single week, in the comments below at WWSRN, wherever you're watching this on your social media accounts. We're going to go through our DraftKing lineup cards and then, use that tournament lineup card to win some money somewhere else, because usually speaking, we're getting you some good value. We'll put you right in that range to go win some money. So, Chris, kick us off with your DraftKing lineup for tomorrow.
Sure. So, as you said, we have a decent selection tomorrow. Not a great one, but a decent selection. So I started off with Mike Conley at the point guard position. I like the kind of matchup playing against Memphis. I like the fact that he's kind of been traded from Memphis. Maybe he has a little bit of payback to give them. And with him coming off an injury, he's been, played the last 2 games. He's been playing pretty well. They do get Donovan Mitchell back, so it's a little bit of a concern. But, I think Mike Conley has opportunity to have a good game tomorrow, hoping for a double-double, maybe 20 points, 10 assists, and a couple of steals here or there. So I'm hoping to kind of start it off with a little bit of a bang, and hope, like I said, he's a good, decent value, $6,700. One of the cool things about playoff basketball right now is that a lot of these guys' salaries have been reset or changed accordingly. So you have a lot of guys with better value. I think Mike Conley was around almost $7,900 before in the regular season. So this is a great value to me, $6,700.
Yeah, he's been playing like the old Mike Conley, hasn't he? It's really been kind of something to watch Donovan Mitchell is expected back tomorrow, but for right now, just to keep this note out there, he is officially listed as questionable just for now, but we expect him to play. One thing I want to say, though, is I was very, very surprised that Memphis wound up winning that game. I really was. I did not think for the life of me, especially after watching how Golden State played the Lakers, should have beat the Lakers, how they played that game. I did not think for 1 second that they would lose that game to Memphis.
Well, two things stood out to me in that game. One was I think Golden State was a little bit tired playing the Lakers. I think they kind of gave it their all, and maybe
especially
a little bit
emotional energy.
Yeah, and they only play about 7-8 people. So I mean, they don't really go deep on their team. And you got a team like Memphis that had guys basically 10 deep yesterday, and you had guys almost, I think it was 4 or 5 players in double figures. So the depth kind of caught up with Golden State. Plus, Golden State had a chance to win that game several times to win that game. Yeah. I mean, Draymond should have dunked the ball. It shouldn't have been that easy. It should have been over. But also, I think Wiggins just got really, really tight towards the end of that game, and it was awful because he was my culprit where I thought he just kind of shot them out of the game.
He was playing well up until that fourth quarter, and then
they got all tight.
To your point, just didn't shy it away, and then of course LeBron being LeBron.
More so Memphis yesterday.
Yesterday.
Yeah. I mean, John Morant played outstanding, but I also thought, like I said, I think Wiggins in overtime just basically couldn't do anything.
Yeah, no, agreed. Yeah, that was a crazy game. But go ahead and continue with your lineup there, sir.
So at my 2 guard position, I went with Bogan Bogdanovic. I'm looking at Bogdanovic has a nice regular season for Atlanta. I like his playmaking skills. I know that Trae Young is kind of being more the ball dominant guard and is healthy now, but I look at Bogdanovic as a guy who can get you 20, also maybe get you 5 or 6 assists, knocks down some 3-pointers. I'm hoping for a big game. I think against the Knicks, he doesn't have anything that really matches up well with him defensively. So I'm hoping at $7,000. I think he's a decent value. I'm trying to spread my money around a little bit so I can get some other people on my roster. I think that's how I kind of roll with 2 guard position.
No, I like it. Look, Atlanta's already aimed fire. I don't think that's going to change for them. The playoffs question is going to be, can the Knicks defense hold them at bay? But to your point, they don't really got guys who can set up in the corner all that well. So I think Bogdanovic is a good play there, good possibility that he is somebody who could find a way to get hot, especially certain different strides during that game, I would believe.
Yeah, and in the last 10 games, he's had 35 points or more DFS-wise. So I think there's a guy like definitely has a nice floor.
What was his price tag again?
What'd you say?
What was his price tag again?
7,000. Yeah. So then at the small forward, I did go with LeBron James. I think that LeBron's basically a triple-double walking into playoffs right now. I love the matchup versus Phoenix. Once again, I think they have no matchup really for him. He's going to see a lot of Bridges. He's going to see a lot of Crowder. I think that when it comes down to it, LeBron's basically the only person in LA right now in playoff form. Anthony Davis still kind of looks rusty. Schroeder looked, kind of rusty himself the last game he returned. Drummond got benched at one point. So I'm looking at LeBron kind of carry the Lakers and kind of be the man. He's already talking junk about Chris Paul, knowing kind of how Chris Paul plays. So I'm kind of interested to see how that matches up. But like I said, I love LBJ for a possible triple-double tomorrow.
Yeah, to me, I have in my lineup as well. I have him at the point guard position, so we'll just knock that out of the way altogether. LeBron, to me, didn't even look like he was 100% physically LeBron either in that Golden State game, and he pretty much slept walk his way to a triple-double in that game. There's nobody on Phoenix who can really match up with him, to your point, at the end of the day. So, I think LeBron's going to he's going to really have a chance to truly statistically dominate this series all the way through. So if you're playing any DFS lineups throughout the week, LeBron's one of those guys. Right now, he's 10,200. He's actually not even the most expensive player, which was shocking to me. You got to play him every single time you have a chance to right now.
Yeah, I agree. I think 100%. And like you said, he didn't look 100%. He still has 61 DFS points last game against Golden State. So, I mean, I'll take that all day, every day.
And what was it? Aim for the middle rim on the 3.
Yeah. Aim for the middle one. You can do 3 rims, aim for the middle one. So then at the power forward position, I went with Julius Randle. I love the matchup versus Atlanta. I think he's got an opportunity to kind of dominate down low. Although I think Capella can do well rebounding, I think Randle's going to be a beast down low. I think he's a lot of center tomorrow. And I like the fact that he gets to push the ball down himself a lot of times, so he gets you some assists there. He's been basically a beast all year long. So I'm riding out with Randle, hoping that once again to kind of get a guy who might be double-double, but maybe even a triple-double tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, the offense flows through Randle when it comes to the Knicks. That's just what it comes down to. So Capella's a good shot blocker. but he doesn't really deter a good, skilled big like a Julius Randle from going away. So even if you can look at it this way, even if he blocks a couple shots, it's not going to matter when it comes to Julius Randle's points. So you're good to go there. I like that move.
Yeah, and I also think that when it comes down around, like you said, the offense runs through him. But Atlanta, you talk about teams playing defense. We'll see if Atlanta can actually play some defense because I still don't believe.
Yeah, well, that's the question, right? Although I will say I got to get an update on it now, but it was about halfway through the second quarter, and it was only 36-33 in the Brooklyn-Boston game, which was shocking. I didn't think Brooklyn would ever find a way to play defense either, so we'll see how that goes. Maybe Atlanta finds a way too, but I doubt it, to your point. Go ahead.
All right, so then at the center position, I went Daniel Gafford. Gafford had a really nice game for the Washington last game against Indiana. He doesn't get a lot of minutes, but he does get a lot of production while he's out there. And what you're looking for is to get some of those block shots. He had 5 block shots last game. So if I can get 3 block shots and maybe an opportunity for a double-double, I'm super happy. Westbrook and both Westbrook and Beal look for him when they kind of do the pick-and-roll action. He's pretty much the only center that can actually finish. The rest of their guys are kind of more defenders with Len and Lopez. So I kind of like his opportunity, and I think Washington's kind of learned, even though they kind of didn't really use him as much as they probably should in the regular season. This is go time, and they got to run him while they can.
Well, I was just going to say to that point, what's really interesting, especially going up against the 76ers, I've heard a lot that Gafford might actually play quite a bit more than what he was because they feel like he might be the only one who can actually kind of match up truly with Embiid in any capacity. Not that he truly can, but just in any capacity. So there's actually a chance he might be playing more starting tomorrow.
Yeah, and I think you got to make Embiid play defense. If they're going to throw out Lopez or Len, those guys aren't going to be. Embiid can float around and he can kind of do anything he wants to and can kind of patrol that paint. So, yeah, I think Gafford has to get a lot of playing time tomorrow. And at $4,200, I'm willing to take that chance.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a great value.
So one of the things I think you're talking about kind of predictability that happens in the playoffs. One of the things I also think that happens is that veterans are the guys that you kind of see step up quite often. And while in the regular season, you see these guys kind of saved a lot of times, especially if they have more wear and tear on their legs. So I'm going to the guard position. I'm going to Lou Williams. Lou Williams is, a guy who can score. He can get you assists. I think Trae Young is going to have a difficult time kind of matching up with the Knicks. I think they're going to have a lot of pick and roll action. I think he's going to have a hard time trying to defend. And I can see, Atlanta maybe playing a lot of 2 guards tomorrow with Bogdanovic at the small forward and have Lou out there with Trae Young and try to push the pace as much as possible because you can't play a half-court game against the Knicks, so they're going to get creamed.
No, they're going to get demolished if that winds up being the case. I also have Lou Williams, $3,500 is tremendous value. To your point, he is one of those guys, especially on a young Atlanta team. I think they're going to have to lean on his experience in these situations quite a bit. So I think there's a good chance Lou Williams plays a bit tomorrow. And I also like his opportunities to be able to get hot. And that's why I put him in my lineup too.
Yeah, I think that one of the things I like is that, since Nate McMillan's taken over, people might forget that Nate McMillan was a great coach for the Portland Trail Blazers, and he was one of the guys who rode Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum. So he's not afraid to play smaller guards in the backcourt together.
No, not at all.
So at the small forward position, because I needed to kind of save some money, I'm going with Grayson Allen. Grayson Allen had a nice little game against Golden State the other night.
He's back now, right?
He is back. He was healthy. He played about 25 minutes. He was one of the few guys who could actually make a perimeter shot for Memphis the other day. He shot with confidence. Not a big Grayson Allen fan in general, but I got to give him a lot of respect that he kind of almost won that game for them. Derrick Brooks played his defense and played really well, but Grayson Allen just knocked down 2 big threes. Yeah, he hit 2 big threes. And like I said, he's a guy that kind of does a little bit of everything for you. And as he's getting healthier and healthier, he'll probably get more minutes. I don't think necessarily love Desmond Bean out there because he kind of wasn't really utilized a lot offensively. He's playing a little tight because it's playoffs, I think, too. Grayson Allen's got that kind of pedigree, from Duke. Usually a guy who stepped up in one of the key situations. So I'm kind of around with Grayson Allen tomorrow.
I like
$3,700, like I said. I think I got to take that shot, too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So then my final thing is I'm kind of picking on the Atlanta game a little bit. So like I said, I want to see Atlanta play defense. And then one person I think can't play defense is Trae Young. So I'm going with Derrick Rose as my utility player. Derrick Rose is only $5,500. Since he's come back and been healthy, he's had a couple of games where he's had about 30 or 40 DFS points. They kind of rested him up a little bit towards the end of the season, trying to keep him fresh. And I'm hoping that he comes out kind of lighten it up tomorrow. There's a lot of talk about Elfrid Payton, kind of why he's stinking basically, and they don't really love starting him. But Tibbs has kind of come out and said that he's going to use some guys for defensive purposes. Derrick Rose won't be that guy, but Derrick Rose will have the ball in his hands when Jonathan Randle doesn't have the ball in his hands, I think.
Well, no, I was going to say I agree with that. Look, Rose coming off the bench as a six-man has worked out really, really well when they're able to attack those second units. I think there's a good chance that'll continue throughout the playoffs. But to your point, because Elfrid Payton has been beyond terrible, he may be getting his minutes yanked shorter and shorter and shorter as well, because somebody else, plus Randle, is going to have to score points for the Knicks against Atlanta, no matter how good a defense they try to play as a team.
Yeah, and like I said, Derrick Rose got kind of rested a little bit towards the end of the season, so he only played 25 and 23 minutes. But the 3 games previous to that, he played 29, 32, and 39. In that 39-minute game, he had 50 DFS points. He had 45 in the 32-minute game, and in that 29, he had 31. So to me, he's got a nice floor. He scores, gets the assists, and another veteran guy that I'm kind of leaning on tomorrow.
I like it. So that's Chris's lineup. Pretty solid all the way through. Good value. Now let's go through mine. Now, I kicked it off, of course. Again, LeBron, the point guard position, $10,300. Can't go wrong there. At the two guard position, I went with Seth Curry, because there's one with a guy who can get hot, but again, another guy who was rested at the end of the year, so they could kind of let him play quite a bit more at this point in time. He's really the only, I shouldn't say the only, but he's one of the few Sixers who I actually trust to hit the threes on a consistent basis, especially when he has his legs under him, which I expect him to have, because he was able to rest towards the end of the year. Luckily for the Sixers, one, they're healthy fully, which I can't remember the last time that's actually happened to them going into the postseason. But two, they were able to get their guys rested because they had that 1 seed locked up. So I'm expecting a fresh team tomorrow against the Wizards, who are not going to be as fresh, of course. And of course, with the Wizards, being that they don't play too much defense, I think Curry has a decent shot to get hot at $5,000.
Yeah, I like that play a lot. I think that you're going to see Washington pay a lot of attention to Embiid, probably double them as much as they can. You're going to see guys kind of coming off, whether it's Beal or Westbrook kind of dipping down. So I think Seth Curry's going to have an opportunity to have a lot of open shots. I think he's been playing a lot more point guard lately too as well. One of the guys I'm kind of excited about that I didn't have in my lineup is Ben Simmons. And I think as a result, I think you're going to see some wrinkles from Doc used tomorrow. And I think Seth Curry is actually going to get quite a bit of opportunity to kind of excel.
Yeah, I'm liking it a lot there. Another value play that I went with was $5,400 for McCall Bridges, another guy who got the rest a little bit towards the end of the year, so he can come in here fresh. It's the minutes he's been playing. I mean, he plays pretty much the entire thing. We're talking about a team that has no rotation, that does not go deep into their benches at all. That is Phoenix. So when you play big time. He is a guy who has the ability to get a double-double once in a while, but the big thing is that he's going to be out there so much and have his hand in a little bit of everything. His average is usually about 30 fantasy points, but before the last San Antonio game where he played like 5 minutes and they took him out after that, before that, he had 30 and 41 fantasy points, started to play a little bit stronger towards the end of the year. Someone's got to do something against LA. I like McCall Bridges here as a nice value play at $5,400.
Yeah, I think it's a good play. You got a guy who can do a little bit of everything, like you said. The only knock I would kind of say is that Cam Johnson is back, and he is going to probably get some of those minutes. That was kind of why Bridges played so much before. But I do think that overall, Bridges is able to play the 3, able to play the 4. So I think Phoenix is going to have guys who can match up LeBron. He's going to be one of those guys that's going to probably be out there a lot. And if you see LA go small, then I think you're going to see Bridges even have a better chance to excel tomorrow.
Yeah, well, they need bodies to be able to throw at these guys. Plain and simple is what it boils down to. So I decided to pair LeBron up with his teammate, with Anthony Davis at the power forward position at $10,000. It's going to get real interesting real fast. But I wanted to load up on guys who have not just possibility of triple doubles as much as humanly possible, but are guaranteed double doubles. Anthony Davis, I think the Lakers figured something out against Golden State, and that is, sorry, Andre Drummond, step aside. We are much better as a team on both ends of the floor when Davis plays the 5. And I don't think you're going to see too much of that anymore moving forward with Drummond coming out as a starting 5, and I'm starting out with Anthony Davis at the 4. It just doesn't work. It didn't look good. It didn't look fluid. They look much better when Davis gets to play the 5. So I think you're going to see more of that. I expect it to continue, and especially against Phoenix, Anthony Davis should have a good time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much more the 5 he's going to play. I do think it's a little bit of a matchup difference in the sense that Golden State has a lot of guys when they play Draymond at the 5 and they play Anderson at the 4. They're a little bit smaller, and they kind of forced AD to be a jump shooter.
I think Andre Drummond's done.
Okay,
I think that's kind of what it boiled down to.
Okay, well, I don't necessarily agree with that part, but I do understand that I think regardless, AD is going to be he is the alpha with LeBron in that game. I think that when you look at what Phoenix has to throw at him, they have no good matchup when it comes to who actually can defend him. They start Bridges at the 4 a lot. They play Crowder at the 3 or 4 sometimes. They got Dario coming off the bench. So I think when overall it's a much different matchup for him, where he's not going to have guys who are necessarily as quick on their defensive ability. And I think AD, if he just kind of gets down low, stops jump shooter all the time, he's just going to dominate no matter who the starting center is.
I was just very tickled pink that I was able to put LeBron and AD both into my lineup, and it's going to get really. But I have one more superstar who I always love to play in DFS because the guy is, double every single time. And that's Clint Capella at $7,500 at the center position.
Shocker.
Yeah. Well, look, it doesn't matter what is going on. He always finds a way to give me like 5 blocks and 20 rebounds and 20 points. And at the end of the day, DFS fantasy superstar, 100%. Quick shout out to Travis Sumter. Thank you for joining the show. We're rocking it good, man. Make sure you hit that link. Make sure you hit the free DC's DFS Challenge tournament link. That's what we're going through with the DraftKings. Hit it.
Sure.
You guys can be eligible for May. We'll talk to Chaz Filardi in a few more minutes. He's going to be giving it away. ChampionshipFootballs.com. It's great. It's a great gift. Continuing on, though, I also have Lou Williams at the other guard position. Now, the forward position, I went kind of similar to what you did, just with a different player, and I went with Danny Green. Going for the fact that Washington doesn't play defense, going for the fact that I think the 3-ball, especially at home in Philadelphia, should be available to Seth Curry and to Danny Green, I believe. So, especially at $4,200, taking a chance there, given the rest of my lineup where the money was spent.
Yeah, and I think the one thing, there's going to be 3 shot in that game, so I think you kind of covered yourself for the Sixers. One of those 2 guys should have the bigger game. And I think one thing about Danny Green to kind of keep in mind is he plays great defense, particularly in the playoffs. He's good to get you a couple steals, even a couple blocks here or there. So I think it could be a nice play.
And then to try to go with another guy that I want to get rebounds and a few points from to round it out. And of course, I only had $4,100 left in my pocket. So I took the backup to Julius Randle. I took Nerlens Noel. Come in there in that game and just do what you do. Get 25 to 30 minutes, and then as a result of that, because he's been playing better as of late too, be able to get close to 10 rebounds, get a few points, get 25 to 30 fantasy points at $4,100. I think he's going to play a decent amount because they're going to have to keep guys fresh, especially against Capella. I went with Nerlens Noel there, even though he's the backup, $4,100.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good play. I actually kind of debated keeping him in my lineup myself. I think we look at Noel. Last time he played Atlanta, he had 9 points, 12 rebounds, and I think 3 or 4 block shots. He wound up getting almost 34 DFS points. So I think that's a nice play. He's not a guy who has to play a lot of minutes necessarily to produce because he's always active on the boards, because he does block a lot of shots. And I think to your point, he's going to get a lot of minutes. You talk about Mitchell Robinson coming back and playing, but I think overall, I think Tibbs is going to trust the guys who are already healthy and have already playing. Tibbs is big on playing defense, so I think Noel kind of is the guy that's going to be out there a lot more than not. Right. And I love his matchup. I think that if you're going to match up with Capella and Collins, Noel's a perfect play.
I think Noel has earned Tibbs' trust right now, and I think that's been pretty evident over the last week of the season.
It's also really good in pick and roll action. So when Trae Young tries to drop, he's actually a guy who can actually trap and keep his feet in front of a guard.
And
so
when Atlanta tries to get out and run, he can actually go with you. And I think that's the big key as well. So I feel pretty good about that lineup. I'm actually going to be putting this lineup in a few places because that's how confident I feel about it. Chris, I like your lineup too. What we're going to do, though, we're going to hit the break. We'll come back on the other side. We'll be talking about our bets of the weekend. And, of course, Mr. Chaz Filardi to see what Chaz has for us on the day, Mr. ChampionshipFootball.com himself. So we'll be talking to him real quick. We'll be right back on the DC's DFS Challenge here on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network, also presented to you by Belly Up Sports.
Hi, this is Terry Crews, actor, former football player, game show host, father of 5, and all-around big dude. I'm also an expert on drama. I know all kinds of drama. There's the good kind that comes with having a house full of kids. There's the bad kind, like season-ending injuries. There's the necessary kind, like having an agent in Hollywood. And there's silly drama like the drama around my percolating pectorals. And then there's the drama you can skip.
Skip the drama that comes with not having your high school diploma or equivalency. Find free adult education classes near you and finish your high school diploma. Visit finishyourdiploma.org.
Or text diploma to 97779. Message and data rates may apply. Reply STOP to opt out. That's diploma to 97779. And leave the drama to actors like me.
Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Adopt US Kids presents Multiple Choice Parenting.
Your daughter just had her first breakup. Do you A, put yourself in her shoes?
How could he do this to you? And for Sheila, she has split ends.
B, console her?
Oh, sweetie, this is going to happen a lot. 4, maybe 5 more times before you get married.
C, take charge?
Got to get this all straightened out. Give a little talking to, man, mano a mano. Hey, Steve! It's now a good time? No? Okay, no problem. Bye.
Or D, help her find a new boyfriend?
I know a great place to meet boys. The internet. Nice, single boys. Never mind. How about some ice cream?
As a parent, there are no perfect answers. But you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
For more information on how you can adopt, visit adoptuskids.org. A public service announcement from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
This is you over 30 years ago.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
And this is your mom when you drive her back from therapy.
Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet?
Roles change without us noticing, and in your new role, we help you help. AARP gives you the information to help care for your mom so that you can have patience with her, just like she did with you. Visit aarp.org/caregiving or call 1-877-333-5885 to get practical health and wellness tips to provide even better care for your loved one.
Are we there yet?
Remember, visit aarp.org/caregiving. AARP, we help you help. A public service announcement brought to you by AARP and the Ad Council.
It's the Worldwide Sports Radio Network. This is DC's DFS Challenge on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network.
We're back, baby. The DC's DFS Challenge show right here, like it is every Saturday night. Back. I'm your host, Dan Mader, joined here with Chris Dow. We just went over our Draftking lineup cards with you guys. Very exciting for the 1 o'clock hour for the playoffs tomorrow. So glad it's earlier in the day because I love to be able to watch it and enjoy it all day long. And the other guy who's going to be enjoying some of it all day long and enjoying this show, especially every time he comes on, is Mr. Chaz Filardi. Chaz, how are you doing today?
I am doing well. How are you, gentlemen?
Awesome.
Good, Chaz.
We are awesome. Now, you actually look a lot better. Your camera's better. Your mic's working. You're not hunched over your table. Good.
I went back to plan A. Plan B isn't working for me, so we'll figure it out. You know, technology is a double-edged sword. You know how that is.
Yeah, absolutely. But what's not a double-edged sword is our sponsor of this segment of the show, which is Monkey Knife Fight. And it's a daily fantasy sports gaming website with a number of unique ways to win money on your favorite sports and players. It's a mix of daily fantasy and prop games. So just download the app or go to monkeyknifefight.com with the promo code BELLYUP for a $1-to-$1 match on your deposit of up to $100. That's potentially an instant $100 for free for you to play today. So just use the promo code BELLYUP on monkeyknifefight.com and download the app. All right, guys. So
I blew that one. I should have said a double-edged knife.
There you go.
I should
put those plugs.
That's why you got to make those meetings before the show. I'm always
We don't need pre-production on this show. It's all on a whim at all times, and we still give out winners 24/7. Speaking of, how have you felt about the playoffs so far, Chaz?
You know what? I look at things differently when it comes to sports, as you know, because I don't have a team. I have no favorite team. My team is whoever I got my $10 on. But I had some opinions. I didn't like the whole playing thing. I didn't like that. I just didn't like it at all.
No, I didn't either.
But
it's here to stay too.
But I did like the fact that I made money betting games that I wasn't watching at all. I walked downstairs. I have a son that's both of my kids are really into hoops. One of them is in the hoops more than other sports, where my oldest son, he'll watch anything. But I said to him, what's going on? And both times I got winners out of it. I just took his knowledge. He's watching it strictly from a fan's standpoint, but he's knowledgeable enough to tell me what happened. So I hit the Lakers the first night, and I hit Golden State the second night. So that's pretty good. Lakers didn't cover, right?
No.
I won with the Lakers, and Golden State didn't even win it. I won with Golden State.
Yeah, I actually hit the one on the Lakers, Golden State as well, because I just had the money line and the under, and that went very, very well for me on that night. Thankfully, I actually had a heart attack, though, because I thought they were going to get one more three at the end. I'm like, no, don't do it. I'm like, oh, you missed it, and we're good. So when they finished that 103 to 100, I was pretty.
And you know, I say all the time, God rest my father's soul, he would always say, don't bet basketball, because in garbage time stuff happens. And it wasn't that long. In the last year or so that I got beat, it might have been March Madness, where I got beat on a meaningless three. You know, how they bring the seniors in when you're down by 24.
Yeah.
And I had the under, and they brought the seniors in, and the guys threw up a three. I think to make it even worse, I think he banked it on me. I really think he banked it on me.
I'll tell you what is really odd right now is that Brooklyn, Boston, fourth quarter is about to start. It's only 78-73 Brooklyn. You're killing me, Smalls. What happened? I got 229 on the over. All of a sudden, these two teams that couldn't play a lick of defense if you paid them millions and millions of dollars, which they do, all of a sudden figured out how to play defense tonight. I haven't been able to watch this game because we've been on the show, but this is insane. 78.
Well, I watched a little bit. I watched a little bit in that first quarter, and it just looked like slow, ugly basketball, like they weren't feeling out. But this is playoff season, so I got basketball, I got hockey, I got a couple different baseball games. I had the San Francisco game, but they didn't have a line on it. So we had a family day today. So we got on the bikes and we rode all the way to the beach. We had lunch at the island and rode back. And I don't know, it's probably 5 miles each way. So it was a long day. It was a long day. But so I'm sitting there and I'm watching. And then I turn around and they scored like 60-something points in the second period or second quarter, and then they slacked off again. So you know what? Anything's possible, but I needed overtime last night. So maybe you'll get overtime.
No, I'm going to need overtime. Otherwise, it's not happening.
Yeah, but I needed
100-point quarter.
I had the second half team total over for Golden State last night. So I needed overtime. And when you need overtime, because that's the only way you're going to win, or extra innings, whatever, it changes how you watch the end of that game, doesn't it?
No, you scored. No, you scored. No,
yeah,
you
exactly. Yeah.
No, it's very interesting to me that game is 78-73 right now. We'll see exactly what happens. Of course, later tonight, we got the Blazers-Nuggets game. Tomorrow is what I want to get into. I'll kick this one to Chris real quick. Sixers-Washington, it's -7.5 in favor of the Sixers. Are they that much better than Washington at home in game one?
Yes. Simple answer is yes. I think they're going to win by double digits tomorrow. I think that Washington kind of show what they can do, the best that they can do. Westbrook is not hitting a shot right now. Beal's the only other scorer on that team. I think that you're going to, like I said earlier, I think you're going to see Doc, coach's butt off. It has some wrinkles for Washington. I think you're going to see Ben on Westbrook almost the whole entire game. I expect the Sixers to win that game big.
I have a unit on the Sixers sweeping this series because I don't see a reason why, especially the key here is Doc. Doc Rivers as the coach for the Sixers is the big key here because now all of a sudden everyone's playing up to potential, and we know Doc does some of his best coaching in the playoffs, especially when he has a hungry team. That's one thing about the Clippers last couple of years. For whatever reason, they didn't strike me as hungry. Not when it mattered most. Sixers are hungry, and I don't think they're going to mess around with Washington too much here. They had the guard play that they can get the points from, but outside of that, they don't really have much else to offer. So I think there's
This is one of the reasons why I said, I was talking to my son. I said, you know what? already got team. This team is 35-39. Why are they in the playoffs and somebody else is playing in? It's the stupidest thing. But the dollar, the almighty dollar, does really control pro sports. It's amazing.
Well,
college
if you
sports
put games on, people will watch. Whether they hate it or like it, people will watch as the games are on. Chaz, we talk about this in betting all the time. Yep. If it was a chicken race, we would still bet on it. So ultimately, that's what it boils down to. I hate it. I still think it affects the quality, but at the same time, yes, I will be one of the millions of people who are going to be watching the play-in game. So I guess joke's on us. But
one thing that's jumping out at me is that they actually have a better record, Washington, against the spread than Philly does. Washington was 41-30-1 against the spread this year, and Philly was 38-31-3. So when you mentioned, Chris mentioned the number, he mentioned the number. When you're talking money line, it's different. But when you mention a number, which is 7.5, right? Yeah. That is the kind of thing why sports betting is so cool.
No, it is. It makes it interesting, but you have not seen Doc Rivers coaching this team in the playoffs, and that's going to make a huge. We talk about all these teams are playing way better defense. Sixers probably, when they really want to be, are the best defensive team, especially in the East. But we have Ben Simmons and put all that together, especially with the way they've been playing, with the way Doc has been coaching. That's the best defensive team in the East, and they can score with pretty much anybody on top of it. That's why when you get into the playoff situations, that's why I put a unit on them to take out Washington in 4 games straight.
What's the odds on that?
That was at plus 350.
It's not a bad play. Because no point, that's money line. 4 money lines. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah, that's all it is. And they're going to be favored in all 4 of those games. Chris, what were you going to say?
I do think that you're going to have Washington will steal a game. I think you'll have one really big game, but they're going to at least get one of the games. But I don't think it's a bad shot to take.
No, they have the ability to get hot. Here's another game, 340 game. We have a lot of DFS players in this game. Lakers, Phoenix. I was actually surprised the books actually let Phoenix be favored at home only by 2.5 points. And I'm going to take the money line on the Lakers because it's plus 117. When it gets to this point in the playoffs, I know it's at Phoenix, but when I can get a money line on the plus side for the team that I think ultimately is better anyway, I'm just going to take that bet.
I was trying to explain to my wife why it really sucks playing the Lakers when they're a 7 seed and they're defending national champions. I'm not quite sure if she got it. She might have been pacifying me. As you know, wives can pacify with the best of them.
What do you think, Chris?
I mean, I think it's going to be an interesting game. It depends on what Lakers team shows up. Lakers have a habit of kind of sleepwalking some games. I think that's why Golden State was even in that game the other night. And I do think that LeBron also has a tendency to kind of start off series a little bit nonchalant in a sense, where he might fall down 0-1. We've seen that in the past, but then he comes back roaring back. But I do think that's not a bad bet to take the chance on. I do think on paper, the Lakers are the better team. But I do think Lakers looked a little rusty the other night, so I am kind of curious to see if Phoenix can steal one at least.
I do have to now. Chris Paul goes a long way for Phoenix in this sense, but I do have to wonder to some degree: will the moment be too big for this very young and overachieving, I would argue, team?
I mean, I look at Booker. I don't think Booker is the guy who's going to shy away in the big moment, and I don't think the Lakers really have an answer for him defensively.
I'll tell you what:
either.
He won't shy away when it comes to pulling the trigger, no matter what the situation is. Whether it's falling or not will be a different story, but. That'll be the key.
I do think the big key is going to be the rebounding. I think the Lakers overall are a more physically dominant team, so I do think that they can beat them up on the boards and they should win that game.
Well, I don't know if there's another team out there who can even, from a physical dominant standpoint, even stand up to the Lakers. It's why they dominate the paint the way they do. Last game for tomorrow.
Well, let me ask though.
Go ahead, Jess.
Because of the 4 games, that's got the lowest under, and every week that we've talked for the last 3 months, we've talked about how many points Phoenix scores. And it's the lowest under of all 4 games. What am I missing?
They're going off that Golden State game. They're going off the defense. That's what it is. It's playoffs, and it's the way the Lakers can play defense now that everybody is back and healthy. That's what they're basing that off of.
You won't hear me say bet the over in this time around, because all I've seen so far in the playoffs is everybody's kind of playing a little bit tight. You're talking about the Nets game and how it's kind of ugly early. That's how everybody's kind of playing. Teams are trying to play more half court. You're going to see a lot more slow down, a lot more kind of coaches trying to coach. So I think you're going to see some of these scores.
Yeah, I mean, it's all underdogs so far today. If you bet the underdogs, you're having a great day.
Yeah, no, you're right. We got Atlanta Knicks tomorrow. That's only a 1.5 money line in favor of the Knicks. So pretty much you can go either way in that game. I would bet the Knicks at home. I would take the 1.5. So it's minus 112. It's a solid bet. I do believe the Knicks first game back at Madison Square Garden. There's going to be fans in the stands. I think it's going to be a hard time for Atlanta to win that game, personally.
Yeah, I think Atlanta's a terrible matchup I think Knicks are a terrible matchup for Atlanta. I think their physicality is going to overwhelm them, and especially at home. I love the Knicks in that game, and only 1.5. I'm kind of surprised that's that low. I think Knicks should definitely win that game. I think possibly handily tomorrow.
No, I agree. For Atlanta, they actually would have matched up better with Brooklyn than they would have against the Knicks, a run and gun team, because now they're just going to get physically dominated ultimately when it comes down to it. And then the last game that we'll talk about for tomorrow, Utah, Memphis. Utah's minus 8.5. I actually think I want to take Memphis plus 8.5 in that situation. I don't think, with Donovan Mitchell just getting back, I don't think Utah right now is 8.5 points better than Memphis. Maybe by game 3, but not for the first game.
Chris, I have some comments, but I want to hear what you say first.
100%. I think that Utah is going to beat them by double digits tomorrow in Utah. I think Memphis kind of shot their load. I think we look at the matchup. Morant's going to have a hard time being able to get to the paint easily, like he was in the last game against Golden State. Dealing with Rudy Gobert is a whole lot different for Valanciunas than dealing with some of the guys he's been matched up against. I think you look at overall for that whole Memphis Grizzly team, they're not a good shooting team. It's going to fall right into Utah's hands. They don't need Donovan Mitchell to be great tomorrow. They can still beat them handedly.
Can you say shoot your wad on the radio?
Yeah, why not?
Okay, just checking. Anyway, what I'm thinking is exactly that. First of all, they said they packed for a 3-day trip, right? They were going that game, and then they were going to go to Utah. Which is great motivation. That the way they reacted and the energy they expended in that game and overtime and in the celebration afterwards, there's no way they're not coming out a little flat. My opinion.
We'll see. I have a little more faith in the Memphis team than you guys do, as far as their grit when it gets into these situations and how much that comes up more.
That dude is a good basketball
playoffs.
player. They got that one dude is a really good basketball player. I don't even know his name, but he stood out. He stood out big time. Yes, he stood out big time.
And he's a guy who, because he's in Memphis, he doesn't get talked about enough, but he's an upcoming superstar in this league. Now, look. They don't match up with Utah. I'm not picking them to win the series. I'm taking the points here. I'm plus 8.5. I don't think they win this game, but I think it's going to be closer than you guys are saying, honestly, in my humble opinion. But
Utah by 20.
Well, here's how I
handle. If you really believe that, you should bet that, because you get some great odds on that.
And the way I do it is I come in and I say, okay, what do I think's going to happen? And I always start with small units. So I will bet the first quarter, I'll bet the first half, and I'll bet the game. But I'll be ready to throw twice as many dollars on live action if it looks like I was right. And I'm also going to do it early. I love winning early. I cannot tell you, and we talk about stress in sports betting. I cannot tell you how cool it is when a team scores 3 runs in the first inning, and I got the team total over for the first 5 innings.
Yes, it's sitting back like, all right.
Oh, my goodness. It is just a wonderful day in the neighborhood. It really is. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to look for them to come out, because when do you get backdoored? You only get backdoored at the end of the game. You don't get backdoored usually at halftime.
Right.
And so that's where, you know what, I could end up winning a lot of money, and Dan could be right.
Chris, I have one more question for you, and then I want to talk to Chaz a little bit too. But for the first round of the playoffs, the technical first round after we get to the play-in crap, is there any series that you see going to 6 or 7?
I think the Clippers-Dallas series is going to be an interesting series. I think that could definitely – I think that could actually go 6 or 7, maybe. I think Dallas is going to be a hard matchup for the Clippers. Although I think the Clippers should show up the first game. I wonder if they're going to be able to sustain it.
Well, no, Dallas already beat them today.
Dallas already beat them. Okay,
yeah,
so
all dogs today.
Yeah. I think Dallas is a tough matchup for them. I think it's going to be a hard series.
Yeah, that was 113 to 108, and I asked that. That was one of the series in my mind too, and I have another one I'll talk about in a second. But I asked that if the Clippers get bounced in the first round by Dallas in this matchup, they got to blow that whole thing up. It's over.
Paul George got the answer.
Did they have the best team last year? Right? They had
the best record going in. They totally stunk in the bubble. Yeah. But I mean, at the very least, Paul. Yeah, maybe they keep Leonard or whatever, but Paul George is going to have to. Something's going to have to be said because you cannot continue to roll out Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and just continue to choke every single playoff. Anytime you have a team that's evenly matched, they're never the ones who come up on the other side. It's just this is how I feel.
Yeah, it's so weird because you watch Kawhi pretty much carry that Toronto team a couple of years ago, and it seems like since then, I'm not really sure what's going on in the Clippers, but they don't seem to have the same kind of killer instinct, and he doesn't seem to be as aggressive offensively, particularly as he was in Toronto.
And then the other series that I could go see going 6-7 was also a game that happened today, which was Milwaukee and Miami. That game went to overtime. Milwaukee wound up pulling it out by 2 points, but that's another series that I would anticipate going 6 or 7 games.
I'm going to give you a surprise one. I actually think the Boston Net series is going to go 6 or 7. I think Boston's not going to go easy. Yeah, I do. I think that when you look at the matchup, because Brooklyn's hasn't had any kind of really aggressive offensive interior play, I think you're going to see Boston be able to kind of hang out with them. And I think when Brooklyn's not hitting, they're going to have a hard time kind of messing up with the defense that Boston's able to play. I think that game series is going to go longer than people expected it to.
I think the games are going to be more competitive than people expected them to, with no Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum pretty much just leading the way for Boston. But I don't believe that this goes more than 5. Ultimately, it would just be too. I think it's just too much firepower for Boston right now. If they had Jaylen Brown, I'd be totally on with you. I would be picking this to go 7 actually if they had Jaylen Brown. Them not. I just don't think they have enough firepower to actually hang with at the end of the day. But I think they have the better coach, or at least the more experienced coach, a team that knows how to win. I think that's why the games themselves will be more competitive, and why I think more times than not, Boston's going to be able to cover the underdog spread.
Yeah, I mean, but you look at the matchup overall, I think having Fournier helps Boston a lot, having another scoring threat. Tatum's been balling, and I think Kemba Walker matches up with Kyrie pretty well. So when you look at what Brooklyn has better, it's basically rolled down to Durant. And if Durant's going to be a superstar, then Brooklyn can win 5. But right now, he's kind of looking a little bit rusty himself. And like I said, Tatum's been just balling his butt off. So I think that's where you got to kind of
unbelievable during this stretch. So now I'm going to kick this to Chaz, who has been working on his sports data. And man, oh man, is that data effective for baseball betting. So Chaz, I want you to talk about that a little bit, and it might be actually available soon. We're getting the details together on BellyUpFantasySports.com. as soon as we get all that hashed out, but it will be available soon on there for your guys' consumption. Just talk a little bit about your sports data and how it works and what it does.
Well, and that's the thing, guys. It's so much data that for a lot of people, I think it scares them. Data scares some people. I'm a numbers guy, so it doesn't faze me. They're just numbers. But guess what? They tell a story. And that's what I'm looking for. What is the story I know? The story I know, this team, and I'll just use an example. So right now, the first report I look at every morning is 15 pages, which is 30 games. 30 teams playing two teams. So it's 2 on a game. As the season goes, it'll be more, but I'm only looking usually at the last couple weeks. The only reason I want to have the whole season there is I could go back and I could look at matchups when these two teams played. Sometimes you'll get, they play a home and away series. They'll play 3 in LA and then they'll go and play 3 in San Diego. The same 2 teams will play 6 games in 9 days or something. So it's a lot of data. So all I do is I just look at it and I read the data. And what I start with is who's scoring, because I can't stand betting unders. Now, I won an under today. While I left to get on my bicycle to drive to the beach, I lost the first 5 innings on the Yankees game. In the bottom of the 5th, they scored 3 runs to beat me. I had the under. But I also had under 7.5 for the game. And by the time I got there and got our first round of drinks, boom. Oh, by the way, the bike ride's a lot easier if you stop halfway and have Mai Tais. That's my bicycle.com tip of the week. But and then they didn't score again. And ended up they scored 7, so I cashed. So and again, the way I look at it is, what do I think is going to happen if a team scores 3 runs every single game, and I get to the 8th inning? San Francisco, perfect example today. It's 4-0. Well, guess what? They got it down to 1.5. They got the over-under down to 1.5, so I bet it. Then they got the bases loaded, and all they did was change the odds, guys. So it was still 1.5, but it went from like -140 to -190. And the bases were loaded, so I bet it again, but they didn't score. But they got one, so now I needed one, and then they had to get two more. Let's get ready for the show. I don't know how they scored, but guess what? I don't care because I cash in tickets. And then I look at the matchup, which is home or away. So the data, the Easy Sports data, we have to run it to get these reports. It's the same massive data. Every single play, every single game, every single home away result for the first 5 innings, the lines for the first 5 innings, the pitchers, who started. It's only who started. That's all I care about. So in games where that bullpen guy comes in, he pitches 2 innings, and then the next guy pitches an inning, and then the next guy, those are kind of outliers in data. So they don't happen that often. But what I've got is then I've got an idea of what these teams are doing offensively and defensively. When a team like the Mets and Tampa Bay had runs this year, they weren't giving up runs. They just weren't. So not only am I not, so all of a sudden I got opportunities here. I'm not just looking who I'm betting, but I'm looking at team total. So in a perfect scenario, okay, I'm going to bet the team to win. I'm going to bet them over, the game over. I'm going to bet their team total over. I'm going to bet the other team total under, and guess what I'm going to get? 19-1 Atlanta. And I win every single bet. I win 8 bets in one game, but then the live action starts coming in. So if I got a team and their team total over is the bet and they don't score, they score right away, it goes up, I'm going to bet it. So I'm going to end up having 3 or 4 or 5. And then at some point I'm going to say, okay, don't be stupid, because I've had it where I had 12. I had 12 plays on this game. I had over 6.5, 7.5, 8.5, 9.5, 10.5, 11.5, and 12.5, and it ended up, 9-1, and the game over was 8.5, so that was the winner. But I ended up throwing away 3 tickets. No, those are all small. We talk about it all the time.
Yeah,
they're small tickets. Don't get me wrong, but I don't like throwing away tickets. I'm cashing 80% of my bets most days.
Well, that was my point. Your sports data has made it very, very simple to be able to bet. First of all, bet in a numerous amount of ways, but you have concrete data based on who's pitching, how these teams are trending, and it makes it real simple to really get a high probability. Just don't make yourself go broke, but you have a high probability if you're able to sprinkle it around a little bit. There's a number of ways for you to win right now, and it's clearly defined. Right on her, and it lines up perfectly with the sports book. That's why I'm a big fan of it. That's why I think it's going to work. It's going to work out really, really well. And like I said, it will be available soon. Not exactly sure the date yet, but that's why I sent you. It will be available soon on BellyUpFantasySports.com.
I sent you that sample, right? But I think I sent you the pitcher one.
Yes.
Well, see, that's the problem. Then that's what happens, Chris. Is so you got all this data's great, and then you look at who's pitching, and the guy they're pitching, he's given up 2 runs at most in the last 5 games. So he may, and that's the funniest part. You're looking at the starting pitcher, who started, and the final result. So it may not have been him. He only pitched 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 innings. But the bottom line is, if he starts, then this is what happens. And my God, they don't give him any support. Some of these pitchers, they don't give up more than 3 or 4 runs in a game. You should win almost every single time, and they're 3-5 because the team just doesn't back him any. So the pitcher, I would say, if you tell me this team is doing this, but they're playing against a pitcher who does the opposite, I'm going to watch. I may not bet the game. I may watch. I put that much power in what a pitcher can do, because we've seen it this year with the no-nos. The bottom line is your pitcher's on. He's got the ball in his hand for 109 pitches. He's going to be tough to beat if he's on.
Well, here's the one thing I was going to say about that, going through your pitcher data there, was that I was looking for matchups. I think you talked about this before on this show, where you're going to have the one team's ace going up against the other team's 5th man in the rotation, just depending
on a new guy, a guy that my wife has to look up, because Vicky helps me with the data, Dan. She has to look up the name because he ain't in there. He's the alternate site guy.
And it's usually a great indicator, and I was using it this week. It's a great indicator as far as when.
Hold on. We have an update from San Diego. Now, I put out San Diego. What I told the guys this morning is, based on the data, this team doesn't give up any runs. They got like great pitching. They got the best record in baseball right now. And it's the bottom of the fifth, and I need 2.5 runs to catch a ticket. And all of a sudden the bases are loaded because they walked Fernando Tatis. What a comeback he's coming from COVID.
Yeah, really.
Had I known you could get that good at something, I would have got COVID. I would have been hitting 90% of my bets. So I'm watching because I don't want to have ESPN on. I don't want to have the TV on because I don't want you guys to hear the sound. It says in play runs. That's all it says. But there's 2 outs. So I know it's not a sacrifice fly. So could it be a slam Diego? Everybody else knows if they're watching this live but me. But I know I cashed another ticket. So that's good. And it was 1-1 going into the bottom of the fifth. So I was going to lose the run line. I was going to push on the game, and I was going to lose the team total over. So big guys, they basically come back and they won all the bets for me in the bottom of the fifth.
Awesome.
The bottom of the fifth and the bottom of the ninth, when you bet the way I do, they're the same thing.
No, they are. And that all gets broken down in the data too. The top of the top 5 innings, and then the bottom. And then, like I said, the big thing with the pitcher data is figuring out, that ace against that 5th man rotation, because if you want to just bet the winner, it hits 75% of the time for me this week, just looking for those particular matchups.
I was just going to say, what I like about Chaz's numbers is that basically he does all the hard work for you. He's picking out the guys. He's eliminated.
It gets even better. It was a single, but they had an error, so he cleared the bases on a single.
There you go.
And then the next guy came up and he singled. It's 6-1. Go Padres! Now, I'm not a Padre fan, but I would say the same thing. It was the Brewers, and I had money on them.
Yeah, 100%, absolutely. But yeah, that's the great thing about the day is doing it for you. That's why we're going to offer it to you guys as a service, because now all of a sudden all that time is going to be saved, and you are now going to be able to make expert level bets without having to have done any work, because Chaz here is doing all the work for you.
When I talked to you, Dan, earlier, and with Mike as well, and I've talked to Errol about it as well, that we're looking, once I get through this summer with the shows, the collectible shows selling footballs, we're gonna have a show. And what we're going to do, we're going to have a show, and it's going to be a call-in show for the Easy Sports Native. And the bottom line is you're going to have to subscribe, or you won't know what we're talking about. But if you subscribe, you have information. Then just in the comments, how we put the comments when you're watching the stream, and then we answer the questions. And the bottom line is, we win a lot of money. I mean, our show is phenomenal at winning money. But again, I had a 32-8 day on a Monday, and I didn't bet. I didn't handicap. I don't do baseball on Monday and Tuesday, mostly because I'm tired. Baseball's every single day. It's a grind. But so I'm just following the guys, and I was 32-8 betting other people's plays.
That's the way to do it.
Well, part of it is, as you know, anybody gives you a play, 95% of them probably have it for the game, and that's it. I'm good. Right? Would you agree? That's pretty close to that number? Yeah. Not me.
No, you're breaking it down in 50 different ways, which is why it's great data.
You get 8 9 winners in one game. That's how you kind of do that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Especially with baseball. But that is going to do it for today's show. Again, guys, in the comments at WWSRN, wherever you're watching us on social media, the free tournament is right there for you guys to go ahead and enter. Go back and listen to this show tomorrow morning or tonight, whatever, on at Belly Up Fantasy, at WSRN, your favorite pod app, Stitcher, Spotify, iTunes,
and
wherever.
They don't have to even listen to the commercials. They could skip through them.
Well, no, if you listen to it on the streaming apps, I edited for you, so you only have to hear the commercials. Yeah. But go back.
Don't get me wrong. We love our sponsors. I'm not saying anything. I'm just saying, if say you're on the West Coast and it's 10 o'clock, the Washington Philly game, and you got or Philadelphia 76er game, and you got to listen to it. You really can't afford to have commercials. 1 o'clock in the East Coast is different, but out here we lose 3 hours of handicapping every morning.
No, I know. And as one of the things, time is of the essence always with sports betting. So I completely understand. So why we have that version available to you guys. But go ahead, check that out. Get your DFS lineups in. And then this second half of the show, go back and watch this, because we got some really good bets for you guys going in tomorrow. We'll see how that all shakes out. And make sure you're checking out Chaz, and we'll be checking out this Easy Sports data as well pretty shortly. But remember, if you win that tournament, and JJ Malecki 89, 2 weeks in a row now, he's won. So he's looking pretty good for the month of May. But there's still going to be 2 more contests for this month. and it's going to be championshipfootballs.com. So Chaz, talk about that and also closes out, man.
Yeah, the bottom line is they are the coolest present. Now, while I was listening to you guys in the green room, Drew Pearson put out a tweet saying how he was excited about going to Houston, and I, of course, retweeted it with a picture of the Dallas Cowboy football that he's going to sign, because it really is. If you're a fan of the team, my team never won. I've never been on a championship team my entire. I played football in college. I was never on anything. I think in high school we went 7-5 one year. We had a party. The bottom line is winning championships is hard, and they last forever, and that's why championshipfootballs.com is the coolest present they'll open that day, and it's guaranteed.
Absolutely love it. Chris and I will be back this Tuesday on BFL football at Belly Up Fantasy. You'll be able to check that out Tuesday night at 8:30. We're talking about our top 8 rookie quarterbacks for Dynasty and our top 10 running backs for rookie Dynasty drafts as well. And so we'll be on that. And then, of course, we'll be back next Friday from 11 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. on the Worldwide Sports Radio Network for the MD's Fantasy Football Show. And we'll be back doing this show, same time, same place, 9:30 with more free content. So everybody check it out. We'll talk to you again real soon. Chaz, who's like to say,
always be cashing.
See you guys next week.